So good to see you. So I'm here to do karma cards. We're going to do karma cards. And I also want to talk to you about a couple of more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not out there. I mean, it's just more expanded issues that I want to talk about that would revolve around spirit and quantum physics and things of that nature. Psychic premonitions, not prophecies, but intuitive hits that I've been getting lately. So this one might be a little bit out there from what some people are used to getting from me. This is the kind of material I tend to share more on my podcast, but I thought, what the hell, let's put it here too. And, you know, take whatever resonates and leave what doesn't resonate for you. And those who are coming in from groups, so it looks like I'm getting shadow banned on Facebook, and I don't know why. I haven't really put myself out there that much, but I'm very sorry to anyone who's seeing this, who got hold of it, who couldn't get hold of it through my groups. My messages aren't going to my groups anymore. Groups are getting blocked. This be 2020, right? So here we go. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is timelines. Now, one of the things I've talked about a lot is the Schumann resonance. And for those who don't know, the Schumann resonance is the measurement of the electromagnetic field of the Earth. And it's measuring what's like the Earth's heartbeat. And we have been getting spike after spike. So the baseline measurement for the Earth's electromagnetic field is 7.85 hertz. And it has been spiking and spiking and spiking. We've gotten up to 150 at one point, which you can see that's a huge, huge spike. The last few days, though, this last couple of weeks, we've been getting activity on the Schumann resonance that I haven't seen before. Now, granted, I only started looking at it back in 2016. I've only been looking at it for that long, so maybe it was doing stuff before that's like now, but I haven't seen anything the whole time I've been watching it. So here's what's been happening. Usually we have a day where we get like a hard spike, and what the graph looks like is the graph is like little waves, and most of them stay in the green. And when we get a big spike, it goes white. The screen goes white. And then these spikes last for sometimes, I mean, I don't always track the time. Hey, Luann, good to see you. Don't always track the timing. Sometimes it's like 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 2.5 hours. I've seen a spike. Sometimes they go for hours at a time. But usually we've been getting like one. If we get a significant spike, it's like one in the day. Well, in the last couple of weeks, or at least the last, couple of weeks, we've been getting oscillating spikes. It's like spike, 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 and they're big, and we're all feeling this. So we all feel it at different times. You know, you're getting one when you get, some people get extreme fatigue, like they're fine. And then the spike comes in and they feel tired. Other people feel like gravity makes them feel heavier, like almost weighted down. Some people get really intense headaches from it. Some people get nausea from it. I felt a few where I almost, I get these episodes where it feels like I can feel like I'm getting pushed out of my body, almost like forced astral projection when I'm not intending to or even trying to. So it's sort of this feeling of like almost like my energy center is not sitting in my body. It's like, woo, woo. That's what it feels like for me. So we've been getting these intense energy spikes, and I was just feeling into it. I'm like, is this a 2 timeline split? That's what it starts to feel like when we're getting these oscillation things. Now the timeline split, if this is new for you, it might break your brain. But there's lots of material that you can look at that would help you try to understand this. There's a lot of people who talk about this subject, timeline splits. I have a video on YouTube that talks about making the quantum leap. So what we're looking at is that we've been taught or told or programmed with this idea that reality is one thing, one solid thing, and there's one experience and we're all having it, when in reality there's multiple timelines, multiple dimensions happening at once, and you tune into it like a radio tuner tunes in. It's a frequency. It's not a, if you think reality is a physical, particle-based, matter-based structure, it's not. It's a frequency, energy-based structure. When you start to see it like that, this kind of stuff makes more sense, that you start to understand that you can be on multiple timelines, that you can switch back and forth dimensionally. Things you want to look up are the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect talks about glitches, right, that people are experiencing where something was one way and now it's another. So there's a lot of famous, like here's one. This one I was always like, how can this even be? Like the person would say that this was wrong. Okay, how many people, the actress Sally Fields, what's her last name? Fields or Field? And by the way, nobody's wrong in this, so you don't have to guess right. It's not, are you right or wrong? It's just, what do you think it is, or what feels right to you? That's what I'm asking. So I see Fields, I see Field. So I grew up hearing Sally Fields with an S, but apparently we've moved timelines, and we move timelines constantly, but the last time that it was tracked, she's now Field, no S. And we're like, that one was like, what happened? So here's another Mandela Effect involving her. Now here's an interesting side note. Apparently her brother works for CERN, and CERN does all the particle experiments, and there's theories that the Mandela effects are connected to CERN somehow. So I don't know, but it's just interesting that there's a couple glitches with Sally Field, or duh. Now, the other one was, she has a famous Oscar speech, and it's been mimicked and parodied over and over, to the point that it's part of our like cultural history, right? It's like, it's part of our what's in our cultural history. So she gets her Oscar in 1970 something, and she has a speech which she says, "You like me, you really like me." Well, apparently the timeline that we shifted to that changed her last name has now changed it to God, I can't even remember what it's changed to, but it's no longer "you like me, you really like me." How many people have heard that joke, right, used in cultural context, like in sitcoms or movies or something, saying, "You like me, you really like me"? Do you guys remember that? Well, apparently the timeline we moved to, that never happened. But we have all the remnants of that timeline. We can still see the references. Another one, this is just one more example of how we jump timelines all the time. And this one, I don't know if it goes out of America or not, meaning I don't know if anyone outside of America would know this one, but Smokey the Bear, right? Smokey the Bear. How many people remember Smokey the Bear? Just, that's what I grew up with. And so Smokey the Bear was this cartoon bear that only you can prevent forest fires, and he was helping make sure that we didn't burn down forests. Smokey the Bear. Right. So now the timeline we switched to, and again, we're switching constantly and rapidly, more rapidly, especially this year. Smokey Bear. That's what he is now. And I'm like, Smokey Bear is not right. I'm not on that timeline. Okay, and one more for fun. So there's a whole bunch of these, by the way. I'm just like I'm cherry picking like the most popular, but people are reporting this all the time, this Mandela Effect. The most popular one is, what does the evil queen say in Snow White when she looks into her mirror? She says famously, "Blanky blank" on the wall. Now this one's interesting. I've actually seen many people have come from other timelines on this where they've seen it, they've always experienced it one way. I'm on the timeline where it was one thing and now it's changed. So the evil queen in Snow White, when she looks into her mirror, she says, blank, blank on the wall, who's the fairest one of all, right? What are the first words that she says? What do you remember? You guys were on the same timeline as me. That's what I remember. Mirror, mirror on the wall. In fact, there was a book written after that. So we have the cultural traces of that timeline. There's a book called Mirror, Mirror. There's a movie called Mirror, Mirror. That's about Snow White. So we have all these cultural remnants. Why would we get it so wrong? It wouldn't make sense to get it so wrong. Now it's changed to magic mirror on the wall. So well, how are we all misremembering the past together? And how are we all culturally referencing something that apparently never existed? So it's really interesting. And what it helps you understand is if you recognize that reality is not particle matter-based, reality is frequency, energy, wave-based, and then it makes sense how easily we can move through these things. So again, I want you to imagine timelines. Some call them timelines, some call them dimensions. They're slightly different. I kind of feel, when I feel into it intuitively, I get kind of the same gist, It's timelines are, dimensions are slightly different, and I can't feel how different. It's like a small syntax they're telling me spiritually or energetically. But the timelines, okay, they're like, they show me the shower curtains at like Bed Bath & Beyond, how all the sample curtains are hanging up and they're right next to each other and you can flip through and look at all the curtains, right? Well, they're like timelines. The way they're set up is they're right next to each other. You can look at them, I can see them vertically or I could stack them horizontally. They're right there next to each other. The veil is really, really thin. And it's easy to jump, and you don't necessarily jump as a group. Sometimes there is a huge shift that happens that jumps the group. Many times we go different timelines individually, which is why each of us has a different perception of what is happening. It's why we can't always agree on what's happening, because we're actually not on the same timeline. And you absolutely can be in the same space, but in a different time. I hope that didn't break your brain. Same space, meaning I could still be on the planet Earth and in a different time. And yes, you can jump all the way to time periods, but mostly what I'm talking about right here are different variations of a same time period, if that makes sense. Different variations of the same time period. So one that happened to my husband and I personally, this was like 6 months ago, maybe. We were sitting at a stoplight waiting to turn into a grocery store parking lot. And at the stoplight, we could see the parking lot from where we were sitting. And we saw that the parking lot was totally empty except one orange car. So, and we were about to pull into those spaces, right? Like it was completely open, one orange car. And maybe 30 seconds went by that we were at the light and didn't think anything of it because it's so mundane, right? You're just like, oh, there's spots open. That's kind of how your brain works, right? You engage with it and then you stop engaging because it's not that exciting. So we turned through the light and around the corner into that parking lot. Now every single space was full and the orange car was there. In 30 seconds, with no other cars coming in or out. And I was like, did I just have a brain fart? Like, what was that? What was that? And thankfully he had the same experience. So we were able to go, what together and confirm that was an experience, because that stuff happens to us all the time. And it's not always big events. It's not always obvious that you're jumping timelines. Sometimes it's as much as, I thought the parking lot was empty, but I guess it wasn't, right? So these kind of things happen. there are experiences that have been reported where people have had massive jumps where they go into a shop or something to get something, and I think one of the most famous ones was a few were documented by Dolores Cannon in her books, so I definitely recommend looking up her work. And she even talks about it in some of her interviews on YouTube. So Dolores Cannon, check her out. But she had a report come in of a person who went into a shop, and it was like 1996 when she went in, came out, and it was like 1954. Everything looked different. The cars looked different. The street looked different. It was like she went through a time warp. And I think she had to walk all the way to where her car was, and it was like glitch, and then she was back. And again, so the first thing you do as a rational person is you try to rationalize what happened. But there are more reports of this kind of event where the timelines shift so much than maybe you're aware of. So I'm a big fan of trying to use deductive reasoning, but there's going to be more and more of this stuff where you can't explain it away. And I've had so many people, I talk to people in private sessions, and we're always trying to rationalize and explain away what's happening. But the truth is, the higher the frequency goes, the higher we go in consciousness, the more our mind opens up. The more our mind opens up, the more we're going to see stuff that we can't grok logically. It doesn't make logical sense. Here's part of what I think is happening. This is what I get intuitively. And again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Our conscious mind has a very small bandwidth of what it can perceive and hold, right? So our conscious mind moves at the speed of old school dial-up modem connection. That's how slow our consciousness is as it's trying to connect the dots and have things make sense. So it has to push a lot of other sensory information away that's not focused on what you're doing. For example, as I'm here talking with you, I have to push away what's happening, in the other part of the house where my husband and kids are. What's happening down the street, I'm not taking that in consciously. It's not going to help me right here. However, our subconscious mind absorbs everything, including the noises down the street and what's happening over there, what I'm sensing in other parts of the house. I'm picking up all sorts of things, including things that are happening on a frequency level that I can't tangibly perceive, but is real. So that's how we work, right? We actually pick up a lot more information, and whatever we need from that information, we'll process during sleep. We'll process it during our dreams. We'll process it during meditation. We'll process it during our moments of stillness and silence. That's when we process the extra stuff that we're getting. Well, as we are expanding as a conscious being, as we are growing in our frequency and how much frequency we can hold and tap into, our conscious mind is now stretching and expanding, and it's going to go from the old dial-up modem to, maybe 1G, it's going to start accessing more of the field consciously, which is very exciting. Unfortunately, if we're not aware that can happen, we think we're going nuts. What did I just see there? Why is this different? Why do I feel so different? Why am I perceiving things differently now? So that it's important to understand that what you are capable of truly is only partially expressed consciously. What you are capable of truly is only partially expressed consciously. So that area, consciousness, the little peak of consciousness is getting expanded, which is very exciting. However, not a lot of attention is being drawn to that. And there's a lot of stuff to distract us from it. And I do feel a big part of that is happening so that we won't pay attention, so that we won't process, so that we won't allow it to happen and open up and trust it. So my goal in telling you this is to give you that little nugget of information so that you can process it, open up, trust it, and allow yourself to access it. Because baby, you've got so much that you are here to do. You've got so much, I call it magic, but it's like we don't even know what we're capable of yet. And I get so excited. I get the goosebumps when I think about it. When I think about what humanity is moving towards. It's incredible. It's so incredible. So I just want to help bring that online, because here's the other part. So that's timelines. The next part are dreams. Okay. This kind of ties into what I've said. So your consciousness is getting an upgrade. You're able to perceive more data than you were before. Your subconscious mind is now giving you more information because your conscious mind can handle a little more. So it's like someone's opening the floodgates. It's like every energy upgrade we're getting. And let me tell you, we're getting massive energy upgrades, massive amounts of energy coming in. Schumann resonance is showing us that we're getting oscillating spikes. I have never seen that before. So it's like the quantum juice. It's like the universe is like, okay, humanity is getting its ascension upgrades. Here they come. And it's like they've turned up the little drip a little bit. They've like, instead of getting drip, it's like drip, drip now. And that little extra is cracking people open. So now what's happening, that we have that little extra bandwidth consciously, our subconscious mind has now expanded as well. So people are now getting dreams like they've never had before. So just so I can see what we're working with here, just give me a thumbs up if you're getting dreams that like you've never had before, including dreams about maybe periods of history. Oh, there's my team. They're like, yep, we got them. You guys don't count. I'm talking to people. Okay. Periods of history. People are getting like downloads about, like they're suddenly understanding time periods that maybe they didn't really think much about before or didn't realize they were so connected to. Now they're getting new information about that. Premonitory dreams. Dreams about the future. Things happening in the future, right? Things that they're being told they're going to have to bring awareness to or work on, but in a way where it's like, this feels like it may have happened or it's going to happen. Anybody getting those kind of dreams where it's like, yeah, I'm seeing people kicking in, right? So what I want to do is I'm actually going to start, I'm going to start a little interview series where I'm interviewing people. Just, this is anybody who has something that they're like, this, I had this dream and it's significant to me. I'd love for you to private message me. You could just message me through Messenger if you want to talk about it. I'm going to start interviewing people about this because let me tell you, the dream time is upping the ante. Yes. So those of you who are natural dreamers, right? So you're a natural dreamer. As you're getting, if you're a natural dreamer, meaning you've always been given messages through dreams, maybe through guides, you've been shown other lifetime experiences, you've been, we go to school in our dreams, by the way, this is true. So as soon as we sleep and the body regenerates, the astral body projects, we go where we need to go. We either process the stuff that needs healing that we need to process. Many times we go to places to check in. Sometimes we have work we do where we go and work with others because we're in our higher form. This is all, this is legitimately happening to us. So those of us who were always kind of comfortable in the dream time and always receptive there, we're getting bigger downloads. but everybody's kind of getting the dream time upgrade, where there's more information. The dreams are becoming more vivid, more intense, more message based, or activating, meaning like cellular memory activation. We talked about this before. Your body holds all memories, not just of this lifetime. In the DNA, we have memories of the genetic line that we come from, but it's more than just your direct lineage. It's also the lineage of humanity that's held, and also everything you brought to the table before you got to the human game. It's all in there. And what's happening now with all these frequency upgrades is these are unlocking. With the people I work with, we consciously ask to unlock them, which moves us through it faster. But it doesn't matter if you're aware of it or not, it's going to unlock anyway, because you need that information. That information is we're at a critical juncture where this information is very helpful right now. So I want to share with you a couple that I got. Just, and if they feel like too far out there for you, that's okay. Again, take what resonates, leave the rest, enjoy the story, enjoy the crazy dream I'm having, and don't worry too much about it, okay? So the first one that I got was very intense. Now, some people feel very connected to Atlantis, the story of Atlantis. Some people, that's something that resonates deeply with them. So the story of Atlantis, obviously the civilization that existed long before our current civilizations existed, long before the ancient Egyptian civilizations. And there was another great civilization before that called Lemuria. And Lemuria and Atlantis and then Egypt, they all kind of like stack on one on top of the other, right? So to kind of focus in here, I had this dream where it was very clear that the way time is moving, timelines are now working with each other. So time is not linear, right? If we think of time as a line, that's a misconception of time. It's not linear. It is a spiral. Okay, so I want you to see time like a spiral, like every ring creates a full circle. So we have a full cycle is a light period and a shadow period, or a golden age and a dark age. So time moves in a spiral. I wish I had something spirally here. Here I do. I need like a whiteboard. This is what I should start doing. But like, so this is the selenite wand. Time moves like this, okay? And you can look at it sideways, and that might be that line that we're getting. And the way that we move through time is flexible, okay? So time isn't set. It's like we think of like an hour being 60 minutes, being, a minute being 60 seconds, and each of those move in a certain way. Each of those moved in a certain way, and that they're set, and they're not, and people are feeling the speeding up of time. So this spiral, right? If we're looking at it this way, now imagine that this was a really flexible spiral I was holding, and I could stretch it like this. I could stretch it. In fact, I could even pull it completely flat if I wanted to. But the more I stretch it out, the slower time goes. The more I stretch it out, the slower time goes. But the more that I compress it, like an accordion, the faster time goes and the more condensed it becomes. And so if we can pull it completely flat, we can actually compress it completely closed. If we were to do that, what we would experience is all timelines happening at once, meaning Atlantis, Egypt, Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt, ancient Rome, the First World War, Second World War, this time period, so on, even the future, all compressed and happening at once. If it was completely compressed, we would have no sense of what time period we are in. Now, that's not what's happening here. But what I do feel happening is, so as our frequency increases, guess what? The timelines start to compress, because time and space are becoming more, it's like potent is the word I'm getting, more condensed. And so these rings are pressing closer together. So what I saw in the dream was this timeline and Atlantis specifically starting to overlap. Now remember, time is not linear. It doesn't mean, so this model that I'm using to explain it, you'd probably think, well, what about all the springs, right? What about all the coils in between Atlantis and now? And it's not like that. So these two disks, again, these two time periods are starting to compress closer together. We're getting an overlay. And a lot of people are getting activation and memories about Atlantis. How many people have dreams about, there's positive dreams. Like there's a lot of people who suddenly their connection to water is really important to them and it's increasing. They're noticing the water animals more, like the dolphins and the whales. That's getting, that seems to be drawing their attention. And you notice them more. Those are some positive things. Some people have dreams of like natural disasters involving water, like tsunamis. And it feels like you were there. You experience it. Some people have dreams about the experience of high technology, dreams about being able to do things to manipulate energy in a way that they don't know how, they just know it's right, or flying. So flying dreams, thumbs up if you're getting flying dreams, where you're like, I know how to fly. Well, the Atlanteans knew how to fly, like physically knew how to move. I have so many dreams where I just start running, and at some point I get enough liftoff that running becomes flying. I've had that many, many times. About the breakdown of civilizations, like watching that happening. So our dreams are becoming more and more prophetic. And here's what I got. I woke up one morning and I was like, oh my God, we're back in Atlantis. And my husband was like, the classic supportive response was, okay. And his whole thing is like, that's probably just a memory that you're processing. And I was like, no, I'm getting this compression moment. They're telling me they're overlapping. So here's what I got. It took a second to work out. Bilocating. We're bilocating. What does that mean? It means your consciousness can be in more than one point. Now, people who understand bilocation really well are people who have learned how to remote view. If you can remote view, which is a skill that can be taught to anyone, even if they don't claim to be psychic, you can bilocate. So when I said, oh my God, we're in Atlantis, what I got was that there was a bilocational moment where I'm here now in this day and age experiencing my life here. And I was also actively, consciously in Atlantis, and that I've been getting bleed through, which means that I'm actually seeing like little glitches where I'm like, there's no tree there, and now there's a tree. I've seen this so many times where the landscape looks different. I'm like, okay, clearly I need to like lay down or something. But no, as I tune into it, as I like relax and allow it to happen, I tune in and I get it's bilocating. Some of us had returned to, we kept reincarnating because of Atlantis. Some of us actually held back and decided we'd come back to Earth at this time because this was the big shift, which we can feel is happening. So it doesn't matter which one you did. You're here because you're supposed to be here. And to kind of illustrate that, there's like a 1 in 5.4 trillion chance of being born on Earth. 1 in 5.4 trillion. So the fact that you're here doesn't matter if you hung out in this plane over and over again. You're here now for a very good reason, and you were very highly selected to be here for this reason. So with the bilocation, that we're experiencing, it's very disorienting. This is why if you can understand timelines, if you understand that you can be in that there's slight variations to reality, and if you can understand that you're going to start experiencing stuff that you feel like, I've done this before, like deja vu is up and off the chart right now for people. You might get that feeling like I've done this before, or I know something about this, or suddenly I feel like I understand I'm here to do something. So what I got about the whole connection to Atlantis, and again, maybe this is for me. If it resonates for you, great. What I got is we're going to heal the past by healing the future, meaning the Atlantis fell because of the misuse of power, energy, and technology. These were all things that were neutral and can be used in a positive way, but they were taken into a dark direction. Not all of us knew who were there, that it was going in a dark way, but not enough of us were conscious of the darkness that was taking over, and we didn't stop it because we weren't connecting. We got disconnected, if you will. So a lot of the soul groups who are here now are here to correct that by doing it right in this timeline, by becoming consciously aware of the dark control matrix and choosing to consciously not participate. And the reason we will do it this time, and I have a lot of strong feelings that we succeed, is because we hold within us the seed memories of our time in Atlantis when it went wrong. So as we hold that, this is actually how we heal the past, because as we hold that and we bilocate back to time periods like Atlantis, and we're doing it again. That's the part that almost broke my brain when I realized it's not just that I'm watching it, I'm doing it again, meaning I'm consciously here and I'm consciously there. But the difference this time is I have the memory of the past to help me work through it. Now, again, granted, I realize that some of what I'm saying is just going to be what? Over some people's heads, or they're going to be like, Therese snapped. The 2020 made Therese snap. I get it. I totally get it. And that's why I have a hard time sharing this bigger, because I'm like, this sounds nuts, right? And yet it resonates to my core. And there are some people, when I tell it to them, they're like, I get it. So I'm like, I shouldn't hold this in anymore. I should share it with more people. I need to risk looking nuts to some, but those who need to hear it, it can help you, right? It can help you understand why it feels like there's so much overlapping energies. There's too much happening now where it's it doesn't make sense anymore. Your mind isn't breaking, your mind's expanding. And part of why we feel I don't know if you've heard people say this, I feel like my brain is breaking. That's actually the programming that we've been through, the false narrative that's been placed on us for a long time. That's the programming. It's breaking down, and people feel that schismy break. I can't fully buy the story that's being sold to me anymore. It doesn't resonate to me. When we are programmed with information, for example, if you're told over and over again, the sky is green, sky is green, sky is green, that's a program, right? And eventually you're going to see a green sky if you keep getting that same message. But let's say you stop hearing it for a while, you've disconnected from that message, and you spent more time in your own energy. And one day you look up and you see blue instead of green. When that happens, what has happened in the mind is a neural pathway has snapped. The story of the green sky broken. So what's going to happen to you? You're going to go, oh, the sky was never green, it's blue. No, you're going to go, I'm losing my mind, the sky's blue. Oh my God, wait, why is the sky blue? Right? That's what people do, right? So we're so comfortable with the programming we've been given here, that when something comes up and challenges it, or some part of you actually breaks the program, the first thing you do is doubt yourself. Something must be wrong with you, versus something might be just right. Something might have finally clicked in place, right? So during this period where we're having literal conscious expansion, meaning our conscious mind's ability to perceive is getting bigger, it's going to snap some old programs. And then there are some tricky little people that are here to help break the programming. They're here to help break entrainment, which is probably why I'm getting shadow banned all over Facebook and people can't get into my groups anymore because, yeah, it's kind of obvious what I'm doing. So, and my goal is really to help you understand that you are a sovereign being with an entire network of information. You are connected to all that is. That means you are given full access to all information that ever is, was, or will be. And this is the time period where you will be challenged to go within, listen to your intuition, listen to your gut, use discernment in what you hear outside of you, which means you're questioning it and taking it in. You're going, thank you for that information. So anything I say, you should be taking in and going, thank you for that. Let me just process this. Atlantis, memories. Okay. Bilocating. No, I'm not going to go there. That's beautiful. That's what you're supposed to do. That is discernment. When you get a yes, 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 no, that no is you saying this doesn't jive right with what my internal compass is telling me. Well, it's very, very important that we understand this and we're using it regularly, because the old program is based on entrainment. It's based on you seeking for knowledge outside of yourself. And as long as you're like, I have no knowledge, tell me what the knowledge is, there's always going to be someone there who's like, I'll tell you what it is. You just listen to me, right? You just follow everything I show you. It's just a weird gut feeling you're having. You're fine. You're nauseous, right? Don't fall for it. It's really our time to stand in our own personal power. And it's scary and it's going to make you feel unsure. Sometimes it's going to feel shaky, but just like if you've never done a sit-up in your life, if you've never worked your abdominal muscles, the first time you work them, they're going to feel weak and shaky and ache, and you're not going to be sure that it does anything good for you. But we know that over time, if you work those muscles, they get stronger, they give you beautiful results, you have better posture, right? Like there's so many benefits to working through the discomfort when it comes to working out a muscle group. We all understand that. This is a new muscle growth. These are your non-physical muscles that you're now being asked to flex. And this is, what I'm getting told is that practice period is over. The game is on and it's time to use these muscles. For some of us, we've been working out on it, so they're getting stronger all the time. For those who are just now starting to flex them because they feel it's time to flex, they're getting so much pain and they're like, I don't like the sheer doubt and the feeling of insanity that comes with having to trust my core energy, like having to trust that. And I understand that feeling. And I just want to let you know that you're moving in the right direction. Every time you take a minute to just let it go through your personal energy filters, whatever it is, right? I'm not going to tell you who to trust, what to follow, what to do. That's not my place at all. I can give you some tips. Anybody who asks you to think critically for yourself, I personally feel better about that. If the person is telling me, here's what I'm getting, you need to process this, that makes me feel better. They're recognizing my sovereignty. They're recognizing my intelligence when they say that. Anybody who's like, this is how it is, period. Like no arguing. You can't question that. That's something that makes the little hairs, the freckles go up and like, really, it really kicks up that rebellious nature in me to like question. So that's what I can help you with. Like, that's just kind of my measure for discernment. A lot of people are a little freaked out that they don't know how to discern. It just comes from the feeling of not having practiced it enough, right? So definitely, the idea here is not to limit the information. Take information in, but now process it, right? Process what feels right to you and simply leave the rest. So that's what I got to say about that. We're going to do karma cards now. So here's the karma cards for those who are new. There are 3 decks. The planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. I've already asked my team to tell me what the message is for today. And I get 2 sets of answers and I read across the cards. The first set is action-related answers and the blue set is outcomes. So the way that you play is you just tune in. You can practice using your intuition right now. Just feel in. Do you need actions, action-related answers, or outcomes? Okay, so this is for the time period of 9th through the 14th, these cards. Okay, let me tell you the flavor of this reading. So we've got the moon. The moon is here. So this is our feeling state in Leo, right? Our creative expression in the 9th house. The 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius, and this is about our higher self. Now, this is really interesting, actually, because we recently, the lunar nodes have changed. They're on the axis of Gemini in the North Node and Sagittarius in the South Node. And I call this one, I just nicknamed it the axis of education. So the moon is in this new placement of the axis of education. And it stays here for about 18 months. Now I want to kind of tie that back to the stuff I was talking about with past life memories, timelines, overlays, all of this, these bilocation. Sagittarius is about the higher mind, higher education, higher mind. And it has to do with our past, right? So the South Node's about the past, learning from the past, undoing patterns from the past, using the higher mind. Gemini is in the North Node, which is about the future, which is about the local mind, which is about what's happening here and what we're implanting here. This is what's going to change here. We're going to use the higher mind to break the patterns of the past to change the local mind, which would be our personal perception of reality. It's kind of a big deal. So the 9th house is activated. 9th house is the house of higher consciousness and all the different ways that we can expand our higher consciousness. So for those who are choosing red or action, your spiritual action is defend leadership as if it or they came from God. Defend leadership as if it or they came from God. This goes right back to what I have been talking about, the messages that are coming through me to share this message, self-sovereignty, personal leadership. Defend your personal leadership, your personal sovereignty, as if it came from God, because it did, right? So to be made in the image of God, that's what this means. You are a creator being who is for a long time, we've been like the elephant, that at the young age, the elephant was tied to a spike in the ground. And maybe at one point that spike was stronger than the elephant. But as the elephant grew, the spike stayed the same, but the elephant's belief in the spike overpowered it. So we have this mighty elephant tied to a teeny tiny spike, but not realizing what it is. It is time to recognize that you are the full-grown elephant, a self-sovereign, majestic being, and defend that position as if it's your sovereign right, because it is. Period. Mental action. Accept the creativeness of the philosophies and laws involved. Accept the creativeness of the philosophies and laws involved. When I get about this, there's a lot of ways you could take that, but what I'm getting about the laws of space and time, which is really what this whole, there's my team, thanks guys, which is really what this whole Facebook Live has been about. The laws of space and time are not what you think they are. And if you accept the creativeness, that means you're letting go of the old paradigm, preconceived notions about what reality is. The biggest lie we've been told is what reality is. And as soon as we really break that down, man, do we like bust open the gates. Like it's going to be unstoppable when the bulk of humanity really gets what reality is. It is not matter, it is not particle, it is wave and frequency, and it is changeable. So you can choose to shift timelines whenever you want. I'll give you a personal example. My lower back, since all of these events have been going on, I've taken on a lot of pain there. And I've tried everything to shift it. And I know it's energetic. I tried everything physical, I should say, to shift it, right? Heat, stretching, massage, all the things I can think of to shift it, not budged. Last night, for the first time, I said to myself, and it was a mantra I slept with, it just kept running through my head, and I said, I accept that there is a timeline where my back is pain-free. I accept and allow that there is a timeline where my back is pain-free. Now notice I didn't say I'm going to the timeline. It wasn't about forcing. In fact, force is not how you need to do it. It's more about opening to it. It's about receiving, really. So I just kept saying, I accept and allow there's a timeline where I'm completely free of back pain. I just kept saying it. And usually when I wake up in the morning, my back is the worst. It's really stiff and sore, and I have to do a lot of work to get it to like relax and stop spasming. For the first time in almost like a full week, I woke up and it didn't say the pain went away. It was still there, but it was greatly reduced, and I wasn't spasming the way I had the other morning. And all I did was open my mind to the possibility of the timeline where I'm not in pain. So there's more for me to learn here. There's more for me to trust, but it showed me enough of just what we are capable of, just through thought and consciousness alone. So that's just really an example. Like, accept the creativeness of the philosophies and laws involved, which means you don't even have to understand how it works. But if you're open to something different, and considering how energy and time are moving right now, swift results, I'm telling you, like the results are going to be getting faster and faster. So play with that. Allow yourself to start on something small. Pick something tonight, okay, that you'd like to see shift, that's small enough that if it didn't shift, you'd be like, all right. But if it did, you'd be like, wow. Okay, so something small that you're letting go of the outcome of. That's really important, that you can let the outcome go. It's the need, desire, and the pressure on it actually are repellent. They push it away. It's like we're kind of holding our arms out and going, come on, come to mama. We're like, come on, just let it in. All right, physical action at this time. Let your feelings tell you how to do what you want and to do it in a big way. Okay. Let your feelings tell you how. So again, that's directly related to, so the feelings are really interesting because feelings aren't intuition, but the feelings are important. Feelings are not intuition, but feelings are important. So emotions, and so there's two types of feelings we could talk about here. One, feelings, meaning like sensations, like gut responses. The body responds intuitively to information. And the body gets the hit before the brain. That's why people like clench their stomach before they hear news, if it's bad news, right? Or they feel the fluttery anticipation before they get good news. Those are the physical feelings. They get the tingles, the goosebumps, the deep knowing, the resistance. Those are physical sensations that are connected to intuition. Now, emotions are another way that we call feelings. Those are not intuition, but they tell you if you're in alignment with where you want to go or not. So your feelings, your sad, happy, joy, fearful, all of that, those are your GPS system telling you if you're going in the direction you intended to or not. So let your feelings tell you, both sets, let the physical feelings as well as your emotional feelings, how to do what you want and to do it in a big way. And in a big way. So that has to do with the ninth house being all about expansion. And I feel like it's connected to the other message about sovereignty, about learning discernment, learning to really make sure that you're the authority in your life on truth. That's the big way. Do what you want to, right? There's so much compression. There's so much trying to stifle right now, so much energy, because why is there so much stifling? Why is there so much containment? Why is there so much control being placed on us? And if you get out of the human storyline, the energetic storyline is because humanity's stepping into its big kid pants, right? Like they're putting their big kid pants on. And when people realize that they can be self-governing, that when they can be a sovereign being, and that they are, it's the realization of when they realize the mighty elephant, then the stake loses all its power. The elephant just pulls up its, hoof or whatever, and not hoof, but its foot, and boop, out goes the stake, right? So there is this massive effort to quell that, to shut that shit down, because if people really caught wind of how powerful they were, the game is over. So there's all this distraction, there's all of this noise, all of this fear being thrown at us to stop you from claiming who and what you are. I'm releasing a podcast episode that's literally a sovereignty statement. So I will definitely post it on Facebook when it's ready to be listened to. It'll be out probably tomorrow. But it's a sovereignty statement, and it's like all you have to do is say it out loud. It doesn't matter if anyone hears it. You saying it out loud is a frequency, right? It's the vibration is creating a frequency, which will create a match, right? It's the feelings. Again, your emotions are telling you, what did you intend? And are you in alignment with that or not? So listen for that. But that's a big way to do it. Be the elephant, the mighty elephant now. The stake has no power over you. And it's time to say that out loud. It's time to say, you have no power over me. The outcomes at this time, for those who are choosing blue, both are outcome, the spiritual outcome for the moon in Leo in the ninth house of mental expansion. Spiritual outcome, the nurturing of self-confidence to create spiritual values. The nurturing of. So remember how I told you that working with discernment, working with your intuition, whether you were comfortable with it or not, it's a muscle that has to be flexed, and you're not going to be ready. I mean, I know that for a long time, when I'm coming up to a big thing, like a big moment of change in my life, I'm always like, I'm not ready, and I'm like, I resist or I push back, because I'm like, I think that I can prepare. And they're like, there is no preparing, there's only doing. The experience prepares you. So the nurturing of that creates the self-confidence to create spiritual values. So when a person recognizes their self-sovereignty, we've been told that if we did that, we need governing, because if we didn't have it, there would be total chaos and anarchy. And the opposite happens. When you claim your sovereignty, suddenly with great power comes great responsibility. You got a team and spirit around you, right? You've got higher beings, you've got ascended masters, you've got energy around you that's like, welcome to the big kid table. Here's what you're responsible for. And the spiritual values that might have been dormant when we thought we didn't need to own all this stuff, they kick in and kick on. It's like, oh, no. In order for this to work well, you're going to need to be self-governing, which means you're going to have that value system in play and at work, and work with it, right? And the GPS, again, the emotions, will let you know if you're in alignment with your own values or not. Okay, the mental outcome at this time, feelings caused by taking a chance on long-range thinking or travel. Long-range thinking or travel comes from the ninth house of mental expansion. These are two ways: long-range thinking, like the thinking of the future, And travel actually expands the mind because you get away from what you know and you learn more. All right, it's feelings caused by taking a chance on long-range thinking or travel. And this is, okay, the team is like, Therese, it's about what you said before. This is about bilocating. It's about allowing yourself to undo the thoughts about what reality might be and allow yourself to experience more than you thought was possible. That is going to that's going to create feelings in you. There's going to be a lot of feelings, including like absolute bliss and like, fuck yes, I knew this was possible. That's like the first feeling. The other feeling is I'm so alone, right? There's going to be this oscillation between absolute bliss and kind of terror and like, this isn't comfortable anymore. I want to go home now. And then you realize that home was the illusion, and it's going to cause all sorts of this growing pains that happen, right? Reactions. Okay, reactions resulting from the impressiveness of, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Mental, again, so feelings caused by taking a chance on long-range thinking or travel. So risk always gives us this combination of supreme excitement and absolute terror. But it's kind of how we know we're alive. And all the feelings are going, it's sort of the rite of passage. You go through the gamut as you adjust and tune to the frequency. So there's no, when we go through that, if we can learn to hold space and not decide that I have to feel a certain way, right? Like I have to feel happy, I have to feel joy or peace or relaxed. No. What if you just let yourself feel everything and allowed it to wash over you as you upgrade, as you get these upgrades and get to experience more of what reality holds, right? What frequency holds for you. All right, so just understand that it's an emotional journey as you're going through it. The physical outcome, reactions resulting from the impressiveness of what is to be shared. This is about you, okay? As we claim in the metaphor to be the mighty elephant and the little stake no longer has the power, we have the power. That's an impressive action to stand in your power, to claim your sovereignty. That is what you would share. And you're sharing it not by telling people, you're just moving into that space. The outside world will notice. Okay, people will notice. And that's not always comfortable. When we're going through a growth phase, it's awkward, right? The most famous growth phase of humans is like the teenage phase. It's awkward. We don't want to have people commenting on us growing. And when it does, it's part of the process. It's part of like learning to hold the frequency. Don't let it throw you. All right. So as you're moving into your higher self, into your more fuller consciousness, your expanded form, people will notice. They will comment on it. They're going to get uncomfortable. It will trigger others. And the triggering is intentional but unintentional, meaning you didn't intend to trigger, but the intention was we will trigger each other as an act of service, meaning as someone grows and you see that there is another level you can move to, it will trigger you to question, why am I not there? And then you will grow. And that is the service. However, people aren't always appreciative. Like they can't necessarily appreciate it from where they're at. Once they grow, they'll go, oh my God, that was such a great thing, right? Like it really triggered me to move. It triggered me to change. The lower frequency energy will always want to pull down the higher frequency. Okay, it will always attempt to pull it down. And the higher frequency, especially when it understands what it is, just stands. It's because it likes where it is. It stands in its frequency. It doesn't need to pull anybody up. It doesn't even want to. It's like, you'll get there. The higher in consciousness we move, the less we need to control others. The more we go, oh, that's their journey. And there's respect, love. There is honoring. There is no need to control. The higher we go in frequency, the more accepting we become. The lower in frequency, the more controlling we are. And we can move up and down in frequency all day long. You know, it depends on what limit we're at, mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually at any point in time. So we can be highly accepting at one point and kind of controlling at another point, right? So as you raise your frequency, as you stand in your sovereignty, others that aren't there yet are going to want to pull you back down because it's not comfortable and it's triggering growth. There's nothing to do. You don't have to turn around and try and yank them up. You're not even going to want to. That's not even going to be an impulse when you're standing in your higher frequency. Or you're going to say, you know, I love and accept you the way you are, and I feel good right here. Simple as that. That response enough alone triggers more growth, triggers more understanding. And the beautiful thing is that the higher we go in frequency, the more we understand that this is all, it's all a beautiful symphony playing out. And the low notes make the high notes more beautiful. And the minor chord brings tension, and the major chord brings glorious relief. And so instead of seeing others as not with us or not moving in the right direction, right, we can see that we're in a symphony together. And sometimes we're playing the high notes and others who play the low notes, right? We're working together in this beautiful synchronized act. And the more we can get in that higher frequency, the more beauty we experience. We shift timelines. The beauty becomes more evident, and it's what guides us and motivates us to keep going back when we fall in frequency. We're like, I know there's beauty. Let me raise my frequency so I can see it again. And we don't have to worry about anyone. We're all going to get there. We're all going to get there. And in any given moment, you have the internal guidance with you to know what to do next. You will always have the internal guidance. So if you got other people pressuring you to act a certain way and it doesn't feel in alignment with you, step back and notice that that's just control, which means a lower frequency. And if that doesn't jive with you, right, stay in peace and go, that's their journey. You know, I'm sending you so much love and light. I love these times with you, and getting the chance to talk with people and spend energy in this way together. You've really helped raise my frequency today. So thank you for that gift. Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.